Hi, it's Dorothy Guining with Scrapbooking Quebec. In this video, I'm participating in Janet Fritz's monthly YouTube collaboration, Stretch the Sketch. In this series, we start with a 12 by 12 sketch and then we alter it. We either shrink it or we stretch it. And in September, we're playing along with 30 Days of Sketches, which is another YouTube collaboration. And they're playing along with, yet again, another YouTube collaboration. I'm not going to confuse you with all of these details, but what I am going to say is there's tons of inspiration out there in September. I will put a bunch of links in the description box below, starting with Stretch the Sketch. Now this month, here's what we're going to be using. It's a page maps sketch, and my plan is to stretch it into a double page spread. And I'll talk you through my process. Here's what I'm going to be using. It's mostly material from the Simple Stories Lemon Twist collection. I also have some wood grain and doilies from my stash. So here's what I have on my desk. Of course, I have the sketch. That's my jumping off point, my inspiration. I have a double page frame style foundation that I made in advance with 6 sheets of paper, and I gutted 4 of them. And with the paper that I gutted, I did mat 6 photos. That's what I'm showing you right now. And of course, I still have scraps left over from the foundation page. I also have 2 full sheets of paper here. That is from the Lemon Twist collection. And I have a wood grain paper. That is either from Stampin' Up! Or Creative Memories. I have a handful of scraps as well, including some graph paper and black cardstock that I do use later on. I have some stickers from the Lemon Twist collection, and I have a tray full of embellishments, most of them from the Lemon Twist collection, but I do have those doilies there. I have that sticker book from Tim Holtz and a few other things, but most, again, from the Lemon Twist collection. Now, I want to have a look at the sketch with you, just to give you an idea how I'm thinking at this point. When I look at a sketch, I look at the photo block as one big block, and what I'm doing is drawing a block around where I plan to place a photo. On this sketch, there are 4 small photos, but if you group 2 of them together, it equals a 3.5 by 5, and that's what I plan to use. I plan to stretch that to the left, add 4 more photos there, and if you look underneath the photos, there is a layered photo mat. That as well will be stretched to the left. And a lot of the other elements I plan to keep, like that border across the middle, there's a circular element, the placement of the title, and all of that kind of stuff. Now, right now, I am going to prepare my foundation page. And you can see I have the sketch there in the top left-hand corner. So I'm cutting down this checkered paper here, as well as this yellow and beige paper. And this is going to be that layered photo mat that you see on the sketch. I will put measurements for what I'm doing on the screen in case you're interested. But when I'm cutting these down, basically I'm making them close to identical, but not quite. The papers on the left are going to measure 1 inch longer than the ones on the right. That's all, simply because I have to accommodate 4 photos on the left-hand page. So I'm trimming all this down. Now the wood grain paper there is going to be that border that you see across the middle, only mine is quite large compared to what you see on the sketch. And you're going to see in a moment why I made it as large as I did. Right now I'm just going to place the elements on the page. How I plan to adhere them a little bit later on. The idea is I plan to more or less center it. But on that strip that you see in the middle of the page with the wood grain paper, my plan is to add another border on top of it. And I'm getting out this border punch, which is new to me from Creative Memories. It's a birthday gift from my sister, and it's really cute. It has dinner plates, forks, knives, spoons. I absolutely love it. So what you see me doing right now is punching out 1 border with it. And basically for this punch, when you punch it out, there's flaps on each side. You basically line up the cutout piece with the images that are on those flaps, and it helps you position the punch so that you can punch out a perfect border. I did a second one off screen, and I don't really need it because you're going to notice everything, a lot of it gets covered up, but I didn't know it when I was punching it out. So I'm placing my photos on the page with the papers, how I plan to adhere it later on, and I am going to show you where I plan to position those doilies. So one in the top left and the one on the right hand page, I'm going to be positioning mine probably a little bit down further than what you see on the sketch. Maybe not, but maybe a little bit. I want it to be kind of kitty corner to the positioning of the one in the top left. Before adhering this, I am going to apply a bit of ink to these papers, to the yellow gingham, as well as that yellow and beige print. I'm not a heavy inker, but I did add a little bit to each one of these pieces. And the ink I'm using is by VersaFine Clair, and the color is Smoky Mist or Morning Mist. It's kind of like a dark smoky gray. So off camera, I continued inking, and I also adhered the border, the black punched out border on top of that wood grain paper. And now I'm positioning all of this on the page and adhering it. Now I'm adhering this, like I mentioned earlier, pretty much in the middle there, and I'm starting with one side. And not that it matters, but in case you're curious, the borders from the top and the bottom are about 2 inches for me. And when I adhere the strip across the middle, the top of that strip is about 4.5 inches from the top of the page. So I'm adhering all of this down. I don't make you watch all of it, but basically how I do this is I adhere it to one side, and then I use the side with the adhered layered mat on it as a guide to position the second page. And that's what you see me doing right now. And I continue doing this off screen because it's kind of boring and repetitive. But there you have it. It's all on my page. And now you can see I have all of my embellishing around me. So I'm going to take a moment just to show you how I've organized myself, because I often do this when I create embellishment clusters. The pieces that you see on the top left, basically that's the ephemera, and I organized it by grouping. Basically blue flowers, yellow flowers, lemons, butterflies, and I did the same thing on the right side, which is all the chipboard. Now I'm showing you cut apart sheets and a punched out journaling box that I did with one of my dies. And I also have, of course, the photos and those 2 doilies. I have the stickers nearby. What you don't see is I have some wax paper as well. I have these 2 sets of alphas. Now, the bigger ones is what my title is going to be. It's going to be Summer Food. So that is on wax paper. But I do have smaller foam thickers that I actually dig into those later on when I do my embellishing. But before I can get to the embellishing, I do have to adhere the main pieces to the page and make a few decisions here. And the decisions will be where to place my title and where to place my journaling. Because when I get my foundation pieces and photos in place, for me, almost always the next step is the positioning of the journaling as well as the title. And in this case, it's going to be those doilies as well, because really they're part of the foundation page. So that's why you see me kind of working around with placement right now. I do decide to go with the planner page as opposed to the cut apart sheet, just because it's a bit bigger than the cut apart sheet, and I figured I had a bit more journaling than what one of those cut apart sheets could accommodate. That, by the way, I cut out in advance with a die from Elizabeth Craft Designs. It's part of her Planner Essentials series. I use it a lot in my videos. So now I'm adhering all these main parts to the screen, and before I actually dig into the embellishing. And while I'm doing this, I just want to talk a little bit about the story here. It's a bunch of photos of different foods that we've eaten this summer. And I did this last year as well, and I've looked back at that layout many times and absolutely loved it. I love food, but I particularly love how food changes with the seasons. And summer for me is a lot of fun. So here are snapshots of a lot of the different foods that we've eaten throughout the summer. Some of them we eat every summer, and some of them were new. And like I mentioned, the layout I created last year, which of course looks different than this one, I did really enjoy looking back upon it. And that's why I'm creating another one like it. Food is really very much part of our lives. So now I'm going to start embellishing. And the way I'm doing this is basically I'm going to be creating 2 main embellishment clusters, one in the top left and another in the bottom right. They're both going to be big, but the one in the bottom right probably a bit bigger because of that title there. But I started by basically taking one yellow flower and putting it in one, then one in the other, doing the same thing with blue flowers, then the same thing with the lemons. And what I'm looking for here is repetition and balance. So I'm kind of going back and forth between these two, placing pieces one at a time. Also, I do plan to add something in the top right as well to create a visual triangle, but right now what I'm going to work on are the two main embellishment clusters. I am having a look at that sticker sheet. I put one on wax paper, but I don't end up using them, to be perfectly honest. So now what you see me doing is starting to adhere these pieces to the page, again, one at a time. At this point, I'm struggling a bit with that larger yellow flower that's over there in the bottom right, and I end up switching up for one that I knew I had placed in the top left. You're going to see me do that in a minute. And anyway, I end up incorporating the larger one over in the top left later on. So I continue with this, and that is why I didn't adhere my title quite yet, because I knew that some of these embellishment pieces would be underneath the title. Now I'm adhering the word summer down. I don't make you watch all of the title adhering, but I do make you watch the word summer. And then what I'll do off screen is finish the title by putting the word food right underneath the word summer, and then I'll continue adhering the other embellishments. Again, all I'm doing is adhering these pieces more or less where I had placed them. But when I was placing these embellishment clusters, I wasn't being particularly fussy. I'm being more fussy when I'm actually adhering them to the page. Like I said earlier, I was just kind of looking for balance and color and some repetition in each one of these. So I'm almost finished with this part here. For a double page spread, this layout came together very, very quickly, I must say. And at this point, I am going to want to pop something up on foam adhesive. I do have one piece of chipboard over there in the bottom right corner, which does have some dimension and pops up a bit. And that actually had kind of this little label that says, I don't know, like Sunrise Dairy Farm or something in the chipboard. So I want to repeat that in the top left. I have a piece of ephemera that's very similar, but what you saw me do was back it in a bit of cardstock so that I could pop it up on foam adhesive, and it's just kind of overlapping that photo a little bit. So I've got all of the main part of the embellishing down. I do want to come in and do some finishing touches. So I want to put something there in the top, just above the journaling box, and I find this piece of chipboard, and it's kind of like a file folder. It's not adhered at this point, but it's up there. I end up adhering it, but I'm thinking about it at this point. I come in with those chipboard hearts. I put black in 3 spots just to kind of create a visual triangle around the page. And what you see me doing now is going in with those numbers. That is from the smaller Alpha collection. It's called Twilight from Thickers. And I'm putting a number on each one of these photos because when I do my journaling in this case, I'm going to be describing each one of these dishes. So that is a perfect opportunity to use up the numbers in your Alpha pack. So that's exactly what I'm doing, and I'm just trying to position them on the photos where I like them. And now I'm adhering those hearts, those chipboard hearts around, as well as that file tab. I decided it was a go. The only thing I have left to do is add a little word in that tab on the planner page and do my journaling. And as you can see, I have already done that. So that is it for this layout. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope I gave you an idea on how to stretch this sketch. And if you enjoyed this video, I would greatly appreciate a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, Scrapbooking Quebec, I would be absolutely thrilled if you did. And if you are a subscriber, thank you from the bottom of my heart for your support. Don't forget, below there are tons of links to all kinds of inspiration, starting with Stretch the Sketch. Thank you so much and have a fantastic day.